Welcome, everyone. If you're passionate about understanding world events through the lens of faith and prophecy, you're in the right place. Before we dive into today's powerful message, take a moment to hit that like button, share this video with your friends and family, and leave a comment below, especially if you have questions or thoughts about the Third Temple in Jerusalem. It's a topic that raises deep spiritual, political, and historical questions, and your voice matters here. Today, we begin a powerful new phase in our journey. Inspired by bold ideas and strategic insights, we'll take a closer look at a groundbreaking interpretation of world events, especially through the lens of game theory. This approach seeks to decode how current powers may be aligning in unexpected ways. So buckle up, you're about to see how this vision unfolds and what it might reveal about the times we're living in. According to the interpretation presented in the lesson, a powerful and surprising shift is unfolding in the global balance of power, one rooted in religious belief. Using game theory as a framework, the speaker explains how Christians who deeply believe in the return of Jesus are emerging as a dominant force in the Middle East. These believers are not only influencing culture and faith but are also becoming key drivers of American political strategy. Their spiritual convictions are portrayed as so strong and strategic that they are predicted to surpass the influence of the US empire itself, including the elite financial structures that currently shape much of global policy. The outcome? A coordinated effort to apply military pressure on Iran, aiming to initiate regime change and reconfigure the political dynamics of the region. This isn't just seen as a religious movement, it is described as a systemic force, with the potential to redirect the course of history. These developments are framed as part of a larger strategic game where spiritual motives intersect with geopolitical ambition. The lesson then transitions into a more reflective and philosophical dimension, exploring how game theory can be used not just to understand current events, but to predict the future. Through a method known as predictive history or psychohistory, concepts inspired by science fiction writer Isaac Asimov and developed further by the speaker. However, a crucial twist is introduced, just when everything appears structured, when historical moves seem inevitable, a new player enters the game. This figure doesn't follow the expected path, instead, they manipulate events for their own vision and benefit. Philosophers like Hegel referred to such figures as world historical individuals, those who disrupt the order and rewrite history. Meanwhile, Nietzsche called this kind of person the Übermensch, often translated as Superman or Overman. Yet, the speaker prefers the translation beyond man, to avoid comic book metaphors and to capture the deeper philosophical meaning, a person who transcends conventional morality and reshapes destiny. The idea is clear: history is not just the product of collective movement or ideology. Sometimes, it's altered by the emergence of an individual with extraordinary will and vision, capable of turning the tide entirely. To illustrate the philosophical framework introduced earlier, the lesson delves into historical and literary figures who embody the concept of the Übermensch, the one who rises above conventional morality and reshapes history. One prominent example is Napoleon Bonaparte, whom Hegel famously described as the absolute spirit manifesting in human form. In this interpretation, Napoleon is not merely a political or military leader, but a disruptor of the historical game, an archetype of the Übermensch, capable of bending the arc of history through personal vision and power. This notion also appears in literature, particularly in Fyodor Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment. The protagonist, Rodion Raskolnikov, is deeply inspired by Napoleon and Nietzschean philosophy. He comes to believe that he, too, can transcend good and evil, that some individuals are destined to rise above common morality in order to fulfill a greater purpose. The speaker emphasizes that Nietzsche himself later associated the Übermensch with the figure of the Antichrist, as described in his provocative work titled The Antichrist. This fusion of the philosophical and the prophetic adds a dramatic edge to the argument that world-changing figures may emerge not only with exceptional intellect or will, but also with the power to redefine the spiritual and ethical structure of humanity. These references collectively support the idea that when history seems to be following a clear path, it is precisely then that a transformative individual can appear, one who sees the game, bends its rules, and alters the outcome for generations to come. Building on the philosophical and historical foundation, the lesson moves toward a startling claim: the Übermensch, the figure who manipulates history for their own vision, is not a theory of the past, but a real, present force in our world today. According to the speaker, this figure is no longer a concept confined to books or philosophy lectures. He exists now. He is already influencing the course of global events. The audience is invited to speculate, to guess who this individual might be, as the atmosphere grows tense and mysterious. Eventually, a name is hinted at: the current leader of Moscow, referred to by the nickname Pudim. The speaker implies that this individual embodies the same traits discussed earlier: vision, control, strategic manipulation, and detachment from conventional morality. In this narrative, he is not simply a political actor, but someone playing a higher-level game, capable of altering the future of nations. The lesson closes this segment with a promise: in the next session, there will be a deeper exploration of who this man is, what he wants, and how he plans to impose his vision on the world. This sets the stage for an even more complex and potentially alarming discussion of power, prophecy, and manipulation at the highest levels. The speaker's reaction to the new information is not one of panic, but of deep, measured concern. Unlike past global events or worrying headlines, this particular development strikes a chord that leads to serious personal reflection. It goes beyond theory or speculation. It touches on real decisions about family, safety, and the future. So intense is the impact of this revelation that the speaker admits to having a serious conversation with his spouse and actively considering changing long-held plans regarding life in Brazil. What was once seen as a stable and safe option is now cast into uncertainty. A candid moment emerges. Despite years of exposure to geopolitical analysis and psychological operations, this piece of news stands out. It's different. It's disruptive. It represents a possible turning point, not only for the speaker but for anyone paying attention. This emotional and practical reaction is not shared lightly. Instead, it is presented as a call for others to also re-evaluate their assumptions, especially those who have families to protect or investments at risk. The message is clear: when the game changes, those who see it early are the ones who can act wisely. In response to the mounting concerns presented, the speaker emphasizes the need for a space of clarity, where individuals can openly discuss current events without censorship or limitation. This environment, described as a group for collective study and mentorship, offers more than just conversation. It provides daily guidance, answers to personal questions, and strategic orientation tailored to uncertain times. The invitation is not simply to join a group, but to become part of a prepared and informed minority. The idea is that while many may face instability, those who understand what's unfolding and act accordingly can not only protect themselves but even find opportunity within the crisis. This is not framed as blind optimism, but as pragmatic adaptation. For those with formal jobs, whether salaried employees, freelancers, or public servants, the message is especially urgent. These individuals, often dependent on rigid systems, are seen as particularly vulnerable in times of volatility. The speaker encourages them to seek out knowledge and community support that can help them make strategic decisions before it's too late. Rather than worrying, the message is to prepare. Fear is unproductive, action based on insight is what brings results. This call for preparedness reflects a broader principle repeated Throughout the lesson, those who see